Welcome to the InfoWars Nightly News. I'm your host, Owen Schroyer, and this morning there was a hearing on Capitol Hill regarding the Russian influence, interference, hacking, whatever you want to call it, in the presidential election. Now, they did not offer any new evidence to prove their point in this hearing, something we expected them to do. They did say that next week they will be offering that evidence. My guess is they push it back again. But, I'm just curious how these secret meetings go, why it takes so long to deliberate this information, why you can't release this information to us. How does it risk anything? You're just telling us and proving to us that Russia did it. But apparently that's something that they can't do. Now, we're going to play some highlights for you here to open the nightly news. But let me just say this. John McCain, Clapper, and Graham and others, they were laughing during this hearing, mucking it up and laughing, having a good time during this hearing. Well, you better not be starting World War III then, okay? Because that is no laughing matter. That is sick and twisted. You're up here making jokes about propaganda to start World War III. But of course, we'll see. You claim you're going to prove it with more releases next week. And also, I'm not going to include Tim Kaine in my highlights because Tim Kaine is such a crud piece scum of crap. I can't believe how low that guy is. So I'm just going to go ahead and leave him out. Let's go ahead and roll to the first clip of John McCain speaking about Russian influence in this election.
But there's no escaping the fact that this committee meets today for the first time in this new Congress in the aftermath of an unprecedented attack on our democracy.
So how is this an attack on our democracy? Our democracy is the vote that took place in order to get Donald Trump elected. You want to talk about an attack on our democracy, you talk about rigged elections with voting machines, black box voting, illegal voters, non-citizen voters, dead voters. That's an attack on our democracy. No voter ID laws, so anybody can just run into a poll and vote. That's an attack on our democracy. Exposing truth that then influences opinion is not an attack on the democracy. It's amazing how they play these word games and use these terms to prey on ignorant Americans to really make them feel that they're under an attack that they're not actually under, or to divert the attention of who's actually attacking our democracy to the Russians. Let's roll to the next one.
Every American should be alarmed by Russia's attacks on our nation. There is no national security interest more vital to the United States of America than the ability to hold free and fair elections without foreign interference.
So again, this is John McCain trying to, foment more hatred of Russia, make the American people feel like they need to be afraid of Russia so that they can build up this war with Russia. But he talks about foreign interference of our elections. Again, they have not denied the validity of the content of the emails, which exposes the DNC is the ones that are actually tampering and trying to rig elections. So again, they're up here talking about undermining the democracy, rigging elections, when it was the DNC that got caught red-handed doing it, not just with WikiLeaks, but also with Project Veritas. Let's roll to the next one.
And of course, helping Bashar Assad slaughter civilians in Syria for more than a year with impunity. The same is true for China, Iran, North Korea, and any other adversary that has recently felt emboldened to challenge the world order.
So here he is trying to play confidence man up here. Don't challenge the new world order. Don't challenge the world order. We're in charge. How dare you undermine the world order? But he also he takes a moment to attack Assad here too, because we got to go to war with Syria as well. Let's recall here, John McCain, it was ISIS funded by Barack Obama, claiming them to be moderate rebels that were slaughtering and beheading people in Syria, okay? You are blatantly lying about that. And why are you covering for Barack Obama? Why are you using what happened in Syria to try to push this Russian narrative more when you know damn well what happened in Russia, and it was Barack Obama's funded terrorist groups that were the ones committing those atrocities in Syria? Let's roll to the next one.
In addition to stealing information from the Democratic National Committee and the Clinton campaign and cherry-picking what information it leaked to the media, the Russian government also created and spread fake news and conspiracies across the vast social media landscape. At the very least, the effect of Russia's actions was to erode the faith of the American people in our democratic institutions.
So Russia is trying to erode the faith in the American people's confidence in the election by exposing what the DNC did to try to erode the integrity of the election. This is truly unbelievable stuff. And he's going on saying that Russia is making fake news now. Provides zero examples, folks. Provides zero examples. Again, all of these claims that they're making have zero examples. Not one example is given. Just a bunch of lip service to the false narrative. Let's roll to the next one.
Furthermore, what Russia did to the United States in 2016, it has done, and continues to do in Europe. These activities are ongoing now in Europe as Europe prepares for elections. Is that a fair assumption?
It is. Thank you.
Look at how they're trying to string all of this together to build World War III. Attack Russia. Be afraid of Russia. Russia's hacking. Russia's meddling. Russia's making fake news. Assad, Syria, slaughtering civilians. Russia in Europe, trying to undermine their elections now. They're weaving this web to try to build World War III. We are not buying it anymore. I'm sitting here and I'm watching this hearing, and I'm so sickened. And then I see Josh Earnest make a statement, and I'm done with these people. Okay, I'm so done to get these people out of my government. I want real people. I want real Americans. I want honest people that have integrity, that don't scheme behind people's backs, that don't have agendas. So that's why they can't tell the American people about how they got their information. Give me a break. Let's roll to the next one.
The name Mr. Assange has popped up, and I believe that he is the one who's responsible for publishing names of individuals that work for us that put their lives in direct danger. Is that correct?
Yes, he has.
And do you think that there's any credibility we should attach to this individual, given his record of
Not in my view.
not your view? Admiral Rogers?
I second those comments.
So they think that Julian Assange is here compromising the safety of some Americans. Let's recall, Hillary Clinton set up a private server with classified information on it, okay? That's a fact. She lied about that. How come nobody's talking about the Americans' lives that were put at risk because of the classified documents that Hillary Clinton had on an illegal server? But I love how John McCain is sitting here like, Mr. Assange apparently did this. Mr. Assange, like he has no idea who Julian Assange is. Give me a break, John McCain. You know exactly who Julian Assange is and why he's your enemy, because he's taking down the New World Order that you're associated with. But then they always do this. They just say discredited. They have no proof. What they gave you no evidence, no names, no instances where what they said Assange did, allegedly did, actually happened. So they just say, he's discredited. Do you agree? Yes. He's discredited. Do you agree? Yes. Okay, then he's discredited. No proof, no excuse. Just, oh, yep, that's what we said. Don't challenge our order. We're in charge. Roll to the next one.
I do think that public trust and confidence in the intelligence community is crucial. And both in this country and I think the dependence that other countries, other nations have on the U.S. intelligence community.
Let me explain to you what James Clapper is saying right there. We need to have a monopoly on intelligence, and we also need to have a monopoly on sharing that intelligence with you. Don't you see what they're trying to do? They're trying to literally control all information, all intelligence, and any information that goes against their narrative, they're going to discredit as Russian hacking. They're going to discredit as fake news. They have to have a monopoly on intelligence. It doesn't matter that James Clapper has been wrong before. It doesn't matter that James Clapper Intel has sent us into wars that we didn't belong in. And we'll cover that later with Leanne McAdoo later on the Nightly News. So none of that matters. Okay, they need to have a monopoly on intel so that they can control the narrative, they can control wars, and they can control you. We're not having it anymore, okay? We're done with it. And we know you talked about the info war. We're going to talk about that later in this segment. Let's roll to the next video.
Well, it says radio, and a lot of people don't listen to the radio like they used to.
Oh, yeah?
No.
Okay.
Well, actually, radio is a very popular mode in many parts of the world.
Radio's big in your world?
So here's Senator Graham. This is another one of those punks. I cannot stand these people anymore. Telling us how radio is basically a dead industry. Nobody listens to radio anymore. He's laughing, joking. Oh, radio. Oh, you listen to radio? Who listens to radio? I got news for you, bud. I got news for you, Lindsey Graham. Guess what? Radio, talk radio, has more influence than you. Oh, how does that make you feel? See, whatever comes out of your mouth, people are already going to discount as propaganda, as lies, because you've been proven nothing more than a total shill, nothing more than a liar since you've been serving this country. So that's the irony here. You think that you're going to laugh, and by you laughing arrogantly is somehow going to discredit radio. People aren't going to listen to the radio anymore. But you know that the radio, talk radio, this program, other programs have more influence than you. And that's why you're up here with James Clapper saying, we need to have a monopoly on intelligence because radio's kicking your ass. Let's roll to the next one.
So, ladies and gentlemen, it is time now not to throw pebbles, but to throw rocks. I wish we were not here. If it were up to me, we would all live in peace.
Oh, really?
But Putin's up to no good, and he better be stopped. And Mr. President-elect, when you listen to these people, You can be skeptical, but understand they're the best among us, and they're trying to protect us.
So Lindsey Graham wants war with Russia. It's no longer time to throw pebbles, which is what he says is going on now. It's time to throw rocks. Oh, you know, if it was up to me, I'd want to stay in peace. If it was up to me, I wouldn't want this to go on, even though I'm up here fomenting war based on a false narrative. If it was up to me, I wouldn't want any of this. But it's time to go to war. If it was up to me, I wouldn't have war. But if it was up to me, I'd say go to war. I mean, how does this guy get away with this? How do these people continue to get elected? Rahm Emanuel in Chicago, how do these people continue to get elected, folks, is beyond me. I pray to God the American people can wake up and stop electing these pathetic scumbags into office like Lindsey Graham. Let's roll to the next one. This is them complaining that the info war is kicking their ass.
To fight this information war that a lot more aggressively than I think we're doing right now.
You know, I agree, General, and I think one of the areas where we're lacking and lagging more than any other area is social media. We know these young people in the Baltics are the same as young people here. They get their information off the internet, and we have really lagged behind theirs.
We're kicking your ass. Your politics, your policies, and your lies are just like you. Old, dying, and on their way out. Let's roll to the next one.
I think it's clear that we have tremendous concerns about the Russian hacking in our elections. And I think it's more than
Not about the
ironic that we have a president-elect who kept talking about our elections being rigged, which I would consider trying to interfere with our elections to be a part of a rigged kind of an election. And at the same time,
So again, she thinks it's ironic that Trump mentions rigged elections, points to the actual proof of rigged elections, but then she says Russia's rigging elections with no proof, and she thinks that's ironic. No, you're the definition of irony. Now listen to this double think, double speak out of James Clapper. This is unbelievable.
Well, the Russians have a long history of interfering in elections. Theirs and
Just
other
like we do.
people's. You know, people who live in glass houses shouldn't throw publicly too many rocks. Russia has clearly assumed an even more aggressive cyber posture by increasing cyber espionage operations, leaking data stolen from these operations.
Cyber espionage.
And targeting
Listen to
critical
that, it's very
infrastructure
key.
systems. In conducting cyber espionage against the U.S. government, our allies, and U.S. companies. So there is, I think, a difference between, an act of espionage, which we conduct as well, and other nations do, versus an attack. And Mike, you want to comment?
Sensitive intel.
So it wasn't
information,
espionage or was it an
background information
attack?
was compromised. But I didn't hear any claim of a retaliation on a huge hack. Huge. 22 million American federal military intel workers got hacked by the Chinese. So that's a final question. Did we retaliate and up the costs against China after an enormous cyber attack against our nation?
We did not retaliate against an act of espionage any more than other countries necessarily have retaliated against.
But that's
us
what you
for
said
when we
Russia did.
conduct
It was an act of espionage.
Because this was an act of espionage.
Oh,
And,
was it or not?
You know, we and other nations conduct similar acts of espionage.
Right.
So if we're going to punish each other for acts of espionage, that's a different policy issue.
That's what you said Russia did.
People who live in glass houses shouldn't throw publicly too many rocks.
Is there a difference between espionage and interfering in an election?
Yes, espionage implies to me at least, a passive, passive collection, and this was much more activist.
So when it comes to espionage, we better be careful about throwing rocks. When it comes to interfering in our election, we better be ready to throw rocks. Do you agree with that?
That's a good metaphor.
Wars are not cheap, and a lot of revolutionaries rob banks, you name it, to fund themselves. But I'm a restorationist, and I believe in Americana. I believe in the Renaissance. That's why I harp on it constantly. And so we fund our operation by bringing you the very best game-changing, tip-of-the-spear products that are out there. And for us, things like game-changing, tip-of-the-spear, that's not rhetoric. That's why on major third-party sites, we get 4.7, 4.8, 4.9 reviews that nobody else gets by the thousands. Because we go out and do the research, the same ideas, the same research, the same technology, the same sources that we use to dominate the globalists politically and try to free this republic in the world, we apply to the products we bring you. And that's why we are now announcing a new special to kick off 2017 to make our bodies great again. Now, a lot of the nutraceuticals that we offer, over 25 that we've developed, have sold out. I think 7 or 8 have sold out. More are coming in hopefully in the next few weeks, but they've got to be produced at the highest strictures, even past California standards, which is almost impossible to do. That's the whole point of it, is to stop supplements. But we go to that standard. But we've got a whole bunch of the products that are still available right now, and I want to extend to all of you those specials to make our bodies great again, because our bodies are our temples. And look, I've never claimed to be some beach boy. I was like that 20 years ago. I dedicated myself to working out, and I was in great shape. I'm dedicated to fighting the globalists, gained a lot of weight. But I've lost over 60, 70 pounds of fat. I've probably gained 20, 30 pounds of muscle. I've actually tried to not even do that, but that's what's happened. Now, it's important to understand, when I get up here and tell people my views on this, I'm not lecturing you. I'm the worst about not even taking my own products, even though I know DNA Force is medical grade, Japanese developed, BioPQQ, you name it, 170 plus studies. We can make claims on this. This thing is like the holy grail, basically, of nerve regrowth, detoxification, antioxidant. I've got this at my fingertips at cost. I forget to take it. I forget to give it to my kids. I forget to, push it on my parents. This is God's gift to us through nature. Well, guess what? DNA Force is coming back in. It's discounted. Now, in the next few weeks, a lot of these products that have sold out are coming back in. A lot of the products we have left, we still have some supplies of and will sell out soon. But I'm continuing to offer giant sales. Brain Force, our incredible nootropic, 20% more now in each bottle, 30% off. Super Mel Vitality, 30% off. Secret 12, 20% off. Liver Shield, 20% off. Survival Shield X2, 30% off. Knockout, the amazing sleep aid. I love taking it every day. 20% off. Prostagard, 20% off. And many others at InfoWarsLife.com. You are literally energizing this operation against the globalists. So I want to, again, salute you all and ask you to go check out the amazing specials we've got running right now for 2017 in the month of January. Make our bodies great again.
Welcome to the InfoWars Nightly News. I'm your host, Owen Schroyer, and this morning there was a hearing on Capitol Hill regarding the Russian influence, interference, hacking, whatever you want to call it, in the presidential election. Now, they did not offer any new evidence to prove their point in this hearing, something we expected them to do. They did say that next week they will be offering that evidence. My guess is they push it back again. But, I'm just curious how these secret meetings go, why it takes so long to deliberate this information, why you can't release this information to us. How does it risk anything? You're just telling us and proving to us that Russia did it. But apparently that's something that they can't do. Now, we're going to play some highlights for you here to open the nightly news. But let me just say this. John McCain, Clapper, and Graham, and others, they were laughing during this hearing, mucking it up and laughing, having a good time during this hearing. Well, you better not be starting World War III then, okay? Because that is no laughing matter. That is sick and twisted. You're up here making jokes about propaganda to start World War III. But of course, we'll see. You claim you're going to prove it with more releases next week. And also, I'm not going to include Tim Kaine in my highlights because Tim Kaine is such a crud piece scum of crap. I can't believe how low that guy is. So I'm just going to go ahead and leave him out. Let's go ahead and roll to the first clip of John McCain speaking about Russian influence in this election.
But there's no escaping the fact that this committee meets today for the first time in this new Congress in the aftermath of an unprecedented attack on our democracy.
So how is this an attack on our democracy? Our democracy is the vote that took place in order to get Donald Trump elected. You want to talk about an attack on our democracy, you talk about rigged elections with voting machines, black box voting, illegal voters, non-citizen voters, dead voters. That's an attack on our democracy. No voter ID laws, so anybody can just run into a poll and vote. That's an attack on our democracy. Exposing truth that then influences opinion is not an attack on the democracy. It's amazing how they play these word games and use these terms to prey on ignorant Americans to really make them feel that they're under an attack that they're not actually under, or to divert the attention of who's actually attacking our democracy to the Russians. Let's roll to the next one.
Every American should be alarmed by Russia's attacks on our nation. There is no national security interest more vital to the United States of America than the ability to hold free and fair elections without foreign interference.